how to sell your home fast.
You're listening to Home Seller's Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Seller's Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
We're just having fun here. Welcome back. We know that right now people are asking themselves, how in the world do I get rid of my home quickly? That is, if they're facing certain pressures, or in the event of a death in the family and they just don't want to continue working, with the property. So we thought we'd answer that question to you today. We're going to give you a couple of reasons why, a couple of methods, not reasons, but a couple of methods on how to sell your home quickly. So let's just dive right in, Todd.
Let's dive right into it. Yeah, we actually just met with somebody the other day.
Yes.
That has plenty of time to work with, and we told them that's great. You've got time. There's no pressure, and you can strategize when best to sell your home, and you can make your plans that way. But that doesn't work like that for everybody. Some people have to sell very quickly. Life events that happen will oftentimes require you to sell and move very quickly. So we've actually in our show notes, we've done a video on this, and we'll make a link to it in the show notes. You can actually watch it, but we're going to talk about that here today as well. So there's a couple of different ways. Now, everybody knows about putting a home in the multiple listing service. And you may say, well, what's that? Well, if you've ever been to Zillow or Redfin or one of these other websites that most people go to when they're looking at homes, that's where that comes from. It comes from the multiple listing service. And so that's the service that agents will put a property that's for sale, and then that matriculates across all those additional websites. Now, that's the number one way that most people sell their home. And so you list the details of the home, you have your list price. But if everybody knows, if you want to sell something quickly, if you want to attract buyers, you can sell anything as long as you sell it for the right price. And so the number one way is to really sell it at a very advantageous price, advantageous for the buyers.
Yeah.
Now, that's also advantageous for you because you can get into escrow quicker, and the sooner you get into escrow, the sooner you can close. It's also advantageous to you because you do end up having buyers. If they're attracted to that price point, they can start to compete for the home, which will hopefully get you a better price point.
Now, a couple of things to think about when you are going this method, because it is the most common method that most people think about. Hire the realtor, get it in the MLS, price it aggressively, which means lower than all of the market properties around you. Everything that's sold around you, if it's sold for $800,000, you list it at $700,000. Okay, it's got to be significantly lower in order to attract the number of eyeballs.
Yep.
But a couple of things you got to think about is you're still paying commissions. Right? You're going to pay your listing agent, and under the new rules, you might be asked to pay a buyer's agent's commission as well.
More than likely, you'll be asked for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than likely. It's still, like, everything's changed, but nothing's changed in that arena. You're going to need to take photos, and you may even need to do some house prep in order to, get the offers from people that are willing to pay more.
Yeah, so you'll still have to do some form of marketing.
Yeah, and that's okay, because even if you want to sell it quickly, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to sell it for the least. And this method is going to get the most eyeballs looking at it. And so one of the other negatives about this one, in addition to having to pay a lot more fees with the realtors involved, is that you are going to have a lot of people through your house. You may have 20 parties, you may have 100 parties, depending on how low you price it.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a lot of people looking at the home, going through the home typically, and also asking questions.
Yeah.
Why are you selling it? Why does it sell? And so if there's some personal situation involved that you don't really want to know, you don't want the neighbors to know, you don't want others to know, all that's going to come out in this process typically, because those are the questions that get asked of the realtors all the time.
Yeah. And, if this is a home that you're selling and you're not living in it, it's a vacant home.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the reason you need to sell quickly is perhaps it's inherited property or it's in a trust or whatever the case may be, and there's nobody living there. Hey, that's not a big deal. Let people through unless you don't want some of the personal details known. So there's that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But if you're living in your home and you have priced it in such an aggressive manner, you are going to have a lot of interruptions. Because that low price point will bring everybody out, which is good to get those offers in. But for you, yes, you're going to have a lot of interruptions. And so that might not be the route for you. But it is a good way to find a good buyer at a good price and do it quickly.
Yeah. And also in that process, we've sold properties where the owner has said, I don't want any open houses. I don't want any signs. I don't want anybody to know. And so there's no way of your neighbors not knowing if this is the method you go, because it shows up on Zillow, it shows up on Redfin, it shows up on all these other websites. And then when the showing period comes, you will literally have a line out your door. Even in today's market where it's a little bit slower.
We've had those. We've
had those. We've had so many people come to one of our houses that the police were called.
The police were called, yeah.
One of the neighbors called the police. The other neighbor pulled out a lawn chair
and sat
and watched with amusement, right? So you have two different, neighbors with two different, expectations of what is supposed to happen in the neighborhood. The cops roll up, right? Roll down the window. They see the line. They see the sign. They just nod their head and they roll off. There's nothing they can do. It's private property. We're not throwing a party. It's an open house. And so that's the kind of frenzy that can happen in a situation where you price it low, you list it with all your photos on the internet, and you're going to get a lot of offers. How many offers did we get in that one?
You're putting me on the spot. We've had a lot of transactions.
Was it like 50,
it's probably in the
57?
50s. I would say probably in the 50s.
Yeah.
So what Aaron is mentioning there is potentially a negative if you don't like that, but it's also can be very much a positive because you get a lot of potential, a lot of offers, which drives the price up. Now there is another downside to it. I don't want to say downside, but it's not the absolute quickest way to go because, as with anything, now you've got offers coming in. Now you've got to negotiate those offers. So it takes time to negotiate the offers. And then also, more than likely, unless it's a cash buyer, more than likely you'll have a buyer that comes in with a loan. And with a loan, it takes a little bit longer because you got to go through the underwriting, the approval process. And so typically you're going to look at probably a 30-day escrow, maybe 21 to 30 days, depending on what sort of offers come in.
And that's still fast.
It's still fast.
But unless you need to go faster.
Unless you need to go faster, yes. There is a faster way. And the faster way is not going to get you the highest price for your home, but the advantages are you will sell it more quickly. You won't have some of the fees associated with it. And so what method is that, Aaron?
Before we go there, people need to go to our website.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Go to our website. Do it right now.
Right now.
Right now. You will go to baldbrothers.tv or baldbrothers.com, but baldbrothers.tv.
Baldbrothersteam.com.
Yeah, Bald Brothers Team. Oh, thank you so much. I should know that. We've had this website for more than a couple days.
5 years.
Baldbrothersteam.com, baldbrothers.tv. You can also call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253. We do have an answering service that answers anytime you call. In fact, I didn't tell you this yesterday. A pocket dial. My phone accidentally made a phone call, and I heard it ringing, and I picked it up, and it was calling the Bald Brothers team, and someone picked up and said, "It's a good day at the Bald Brothers team," and I hung up. I was like, I'm getting charged for this call. So I accidentally called our own phone number, and they picked up with they read the script right. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
So you can check out our website. Give us a call. We'd
experience
love to
it for yourself. Give us a call. We will call you back. Before I go to the second method, though, I did think of one other thing, Todd, and that is in this first method. One of the negatives that we have seen, and we've walked through homeowners with this process because they chose this method, because you typically get the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time for their home, which is a great thing. We're always trying to get our homeowners the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, if that's what they need. But this process of having so many people through the house and walking through so many offers it can be overwhelming, just sheer overwhelm. And as agents, we're obligated to present every offer. And so going through a spreadsheet with 57 offers and walking through them details, we try to minimize the amount of details and just say, here's the offers, here we are. That can be time consuming and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And so that may not be something that you're up for. And so let's go to method number 2.
Method number 2. We've got just 2 methods here today, folks.
Method number 2.
Method number 2. Well, I think you were going to introduce this. So method number 2 is selling to who?
Selling your home to an investor.
An investor.
Yes. An investor that's going to purchase it off market, meaning that it's not going into the multiple listing service.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get the public awareness. You're not going to get the crowds. You're not going to get all of the drive-bys. You're not going to get any of that. But you are going to an investor. And when you're selling to an investor, there's a number of benefits and there's a couple of drawbacks. Mm-hmm. Number one benefit is that an investor will purchase your home as is,
mm-hmm.
And they will purchase it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're using some sort of financing loan.
Yeah, typically a hard money
lender.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Private financing.
It's private financing, not subject to all the other, kind of requirements that a general loan is required. If they do that, they're still going to close in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because they have hard money lenders that can give you money in 3 days if everything's the right scenario. And so these investors come in, they do a quick look at the home. They are going to price it according to their needs post-purchase, meaning they could be buying it to hold it. They could be buying it to flip it as is. They could be buying to renovate it and then flip it. Mm-hmm. There's a number of different ways that investors, dispose of the properties they purchase. Yeah. And when that happens, they're going to make you an offer based on their perceived value on what they're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And so negative to that is you might be offended by the price.
Yeah.
But if you have to close in 8 days because, I don't know, you bought a house out of state and it's conditioned upon this one selling and you've been on the market and it didn't sell and now that's expired and you're about ready to lose your dream home in a different state, you find an investor that's willing to give you less for it, close quickly, as is, boom, you're done, you've moved on. Yeah. Right? So it can meet a need. Yeah. So you're going to sell as is. Mm-hmm. Another benefit?
Well, quick closing because it's cash.
Yep. Third benefit?
Well, you're not dealing with multiple people coming through the home. I mean,
right. Privacy.
So you got privacy. Yeah. And that's one thing that you do get with this. You get privacy. Sometimes you may not want all the neighbors knowing your business, or if it's a home that you've inherited, you don't want all the neighbors knowing your family's business. Mm-hmm. You just want it to be quick, simple. And we've had a lot of people that we've put on the multiple listing service that don't want to sign because they don't want their neighbors knowing their business. So we do get that quite a bit. And so that is definitely a very, very much a third reason that a lot of people find palatable. I wanted to mention, Aaron mentioned something, and I think it bears repeating. Don't be offended. Because you will get, that's what you're doing. When you're selling to an investor, it is strictly a business decision. An investor is doing it because it has to make sense for them financially. Yeah. And in order for it to make sense, it's going to be a lower price. That's why this is the quickest way to sell it, but it will also more than likely net you the least amount. Now, with the first method that we mentioned, you will get investors also. When you price it that low, you'll get investors throwing their hat in the ring, but almost always they'll get beat out by the competition. So,
and another benefit, fourth benefit, is that you typically, if you're selling it to an investor, are going to save on fees. Yeah. So an investor typically isn't going to come to you and ask you to pay 6%, which is what historically was the commissions. You're not going to be asked to pay that. And so oftentimes they are bringing their own money to the table. They may not even involve a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And if your investor is a real estate agent, they can often draft the paperwork necessary at a discounted price, which then puts more money in your pocket, even though the top line price, the selling price may be lower, but because the fees are a lot lower, you still may net similar amounts to had you gone to the public.
That's very possible. Yeah. And, some investor, and Aaron mentioned earlier, investors might invest in the property to flip it. We call flipping, and whether you renovate it or you don't, you buy it, you fix it up possibly and sell it at a higher price. But then you also have investors that are going to buy and hold. And what are they doing? They're buying and holding because they're going to lease it out. They're going to rent it out.
Right.
And more often than not, they have a little bit more room in their price because it's a long-term hold. So they're going to, whereas somebody who's flipping it is going to be a lot, they're going to be offering a lot less.
Right.
So.
One more benefit is sometimes investors are willing to help pay for some of the moving costs. Sometimes an investor might give you $5,000 to help you move.
Yeah.
And that, that's all negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you need a rent back. And if you have relatively maintained the home or you live there and you say, hey, I need the money, but I need to rent back for a certain amount of days, given the nature of California tenant landlord laws, that's not the preferred method. And typically the investor is actually going to offer you less if you need a rent back. But if you have a good relationship and you're a good person and you're going to move out, when you say you're going to move out, there's a good chance that landlord, that new investor might say, hey, if you need 30 days to move out, that's okay. Let's close escrow. Let's get you the money. They might do a holdback, say, well, I'll give you all of it now except for $25,000.
Yeah.
And then once you move out, you get the final $25,000.
Yeah.
They're going to
like
hedge
a
their back.
security deposit.
Yeah.
And I thought another one. I don't think we covered this one. We said investor will buy as is.
Yep.
But you may have a lot of stuff in the home that you don't know how to get rid of. Now, oftentimes you might want to go through, get priceless heirlooms and family memories and that sort of thing. But oftentimes having all that stuff in the house is overwhelming. How do I get rid of it all?
Yep.
Oftentimes you'll find an investor that will say, just leave it all. I'll take care of it.
I'll take it all.
And that can be a big bonus as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
because if you're overwhelmed and you've got furniture and you've got 40 years of accumulation of things and you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know what to do with it. Or if you've inherited it and you're like, I don't want it, then we have investors, and we've seen this a lot, where they buy the house with everything in it.
And that can save you some money because junk removal companies, you can spend thousands of dollars on removing the junk. And so that can save you as well in the long run.
And we've had homeowners with a lot of things, and they think, hey, well, why don't I just do an estate sale? Well, okay, you can do an estate sale.
Yeah.
A, it has to be valuable. B, it has to be a lot of it. And then C, you're going to have the estate sale people are going to keep a percentage of the sales amount.
That's right.
Anywhere from 30 to 50%. And then D, on that end, anything that's left over, you're paying to have hauled away.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, the only people that may make money on that might be the estate sale people.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
And it also adds time. If you're trying to sell quickly, that also adds an element of time.
That's true. So we can't even talk about that. Not in the show. You can just forget that we even talked about that because it defeats the purpose of selling quickly. Because estate sale people, the good ones, are literally delayed anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks right now.
And by the way, if you're listening and you don't need to sell quickly and you want to know more about that, we've got people for estate sales. So call us 833-305-BALD and we can talk with that. But that's another topic for another show, another time.
Right. Speaking of other topics, we'd love for you to comment, especially if you're on our YouTube channel. Just comment on these videos because we do read them, we look at them, we reply to them, and sometimes those are very inspiring for new show topics. So
and our last show, I recommend you, if you haven't had a chance to see it, Tim Smith with Fairway Asset Management. We had a great interview. In fact, I remember that show. I spent half the time coughing. I was stifling a cough the whole time. I was getting over being sick. My voice is almost 100%. But feel free to comment on those as well. Tim is a great guy, and he had some great information. We encourage you to take a listen to that.
Well, anything else that you want to add today, Todd? It's a little shorter episode, but, if time is of the essence and you're listening to this, you're thinking, I just got to get started. This guy should finish up. And so we can do that.
Yeah.
We can finish up.
We're in a hurry. One other thing I'll just mention. We're coming in, we're in September, so we're pushing towards the latter part of this year. And sometimes people might say, well, I missed the boat. Well, you can still sell quickly right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait until next spring to sell, especially if time is of the essence.
Right.
You can do it right now. And there's buyers ready to jump in.
And if you give us a call and you say, hey, guys, I want to talk to you about buying our house, we would definitely like to entertain that conversation. We are licensed realtors, and so we can draft all the paperwork and we can purchase property off market. Our ultimate goal, though, is to present you with the options.
Yep.
And when we present you with options, you will get the opportunity to make the best choice for your family. And so if that means going the open market route, that's what we'll do. If it means you want to sell it to us, that's what we'll do. If that means you want to see if we can find an investor who's willing to pay a little bit more, we can do that too.
Yep.
We got the opportunities.
Do whatever works best for you in your situation, whatever you want to do.
That's right. So with that, we're going to call our show today a closing. We'll call it a close.
Okay.
Okay?
I like the in the real estate world closing. That sounds good.
That sounds good. So now that we've brought this show to a close, we encourage you to reach out to us at 833-305-BALD. Our operators are standing by now. That sounded good.
Very good.
All right. God bless, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening to the Home Sellers Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.